Welcome to this tutorial on how to install Open WebUI and make it running on your services. So first, what we want to do is want to go to the official GitHub of Open WebUI. So the first result that I find. And here, there's several ways. There's a lot of documentation and there's several ways explained on how to install Open WebUI. I'll walk you through some of them. But then in the other tutorials, I'll mainly stick with Docker Compose to run the other applications. So first, easy thing is to use Docker. So Docker, if you have a Docker desktop installed on Windows or simply Docker in Linux, you can do that. Uh, you can read through all the lines. They're all more or less the same, but it depends on what you want to use, whether Llama or GPUs. Uh, For example, we'll use this one only using the CPU and installing Olam at the same time. And then we simply have to go into uh, run. We install the image and we see how it runs. So now that the Docker is running, for example, we can use Docker PS to see that. Okay, so the container is running. We can simply go to the localhost. Um, oh, and then we can create the account. So another way to install OpenWebUI is using Python and pip package. So the first thing is using simply pip install OpenWebUI to install the library. I already did that. And then what you can do is you can run OpenWebUI serve, and then it will create a server for OpenWebUI. The other way is using Docker Compose. So for that, we need a Docker Compose file. For example, this one here. And what we simply need to do is we need to run it, and this will run Ollama Open WebUI and connect both of them in the same network. Then we can use Ollama with Open WebUI. And now that everything is running, we can go once again to localhost. This time the port is 8080, and then once again we get to the Open WebUI web page. The other way is using Docker Compose. So for that, we need a Docker Compose file. For example, this one here. And what we simply need to do is we need to run it, and this will run Ollama Open WebUI and connect both of them in the same network. Then we can use Ollama with Open WebUI. And once in your command terminal you've reached the folder in which the Docker Compose file is, simply have to run Docker Compose up to run the Docker containers. Wait a bit until it's initiates, but as you can see here, both containers are running. And now, if you open a browser and go to localhost port 3000, you once again get to Open WebUI web page. And there you can enter your name, an email, and a password. And here you have this is the French way, but it should open in any language. And you can change the language. You can even change the language here. Up. Now that a server is installed in local, what you might want to do is to add a reverse proxy in front of it in order to access it from outside the local server on, on simply a host name that of your choice. So you can use your own reverse proxy if you want running currently, but if you don't, you can also use something like Nginx that you can add directly to the Docker Compose file. So this is the possibility of an instance of an Nginx. There's simply a Docker volume, a Docker container, and you need two things to use HTTPS and encrypt your data and protect your data. What you need is certificates, SSL certificate and key. This is a self-signed one, so it will trigger an error in the browser because it's not trusted by the browser, but you might use one that you need to pay for actually. And then you need also a nginx.conf file in which you simply tell it what's a proxy. So here use a server name. This is a test one, a local one that I added to my computer. Normally it's linked to the SSL certificate you use. This is where this certificate and key are on my in my folder, and this is what it's supposed to proxy. And now we simply have to run once again docker compose up. And now when we go to https my app.local, so it tells me it's insecure, but that's because it's a self-signed certificate. Now we can connect to our Open WebUI instance, depending on the server name.